So, as I've said 1,000 times before, I've taken a lot of cues from ancient and medieval history for my fantasy books. But there were some things from history that I decided to not integrate into my setting, so let's talk about it. Number 1. The origin of Primus is not the same as Rome. Like I've said many times before, Primus is very much similar to Rome in many respects. I have a whole video that talks about this. But there were some things from ancient Rome that I decided not to bring along. One is the origin. The origins of Rome are basically mythologized to these two brothers, Romulus and Remus. Raised by a wolf, one brother ended up killing the other, all that jazz. And I didn't really take any influence from that for Primus. And the reason why is actually in the very name Primus. Primus is so named not because it is a reference to Optimus Prime, but because it's based on the Latin word for first. Primus was, I'll get to that in a moment, humanity's first city. The first city in the Cradle Lands. You see what I mean? And yes, that also means that Secundus here is named because it was humanity's second city. Although that's not fully accurate in universe, but still. Another reason why is Primus is not just taking influence from Rome. I also took reference from Sodom and Gomorrah. And this is going exactly where you think it is. Because while I talk about Primus a lot, in the present day, during the time of Six Strangers, Primus is gone. It is wiped off the map. And eventually I'm going to have a book detailing this. But the long and short of it is, basically, Primus went off the deep end, with some very dangerous and problematic rhetoric that I'm not going to talk about here for timing. Basically, Primus went off the deep end. They attacked the realm of the Goldenwood in a very tragic reversal of the end of the Uniter. And one thing kind of led to another, and yeah, Primus just got wiped out. Number 2, Primus wasn't as opposed to monarchs as Rome. And this was born from a couple different things. While Primus has a similar trajectory as Rome did, going from a kingdom to a republic to an empire while still pretending that they were a republic, it was for different reasons. Rome, they expressly drove out their kings. Primus was because their kings were wiped out. During the messed up affair known as the Second Novalim War, which was a bunch of wars that happened all over the place, you had these monstrous creatures called Horalim attacking the Cradle Lands. The armies of this early kingdom of Primus were no match, and the Cradle Lands were nearly wiped out. You had people migrating south. You had whole cities and towns wiped out nearly to a man. Regarding Primus, only 12 people survived, and it was from these 12 survivors that came the founding families of Primus. They didn't want to have another king. They wanted to venerate these families, which basically led to this whole republic scenario. And Clodius here is part of one of these founding families. So you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of just for different reasons. And another side effect of this is consulships are way longer. So basically, like consulships, which are comparable in function to the president in many respects, they're elected, they're a very high-ranking position. Unlike the presidency in America, where it's 4 years, consulships were 1 year. In Godshards, however, consulships are 10 years. And I did that to kind of make things a little bit easier with the Uniter. In the universe, it adds up because Primus is not as opposed to single leaders. And number 3, there is no glavery in my setting. Swap out the G with an S. And the reason why is, again, just due to happenstance. If you recall my video that had this timeline here, we have these 2 great wars in the heavens. And one of the few things I have timeline-wise before this point, basically for at least a millennia, maybe a little bit longer, I'm still not sure of the overall span of time, the mortal realms had been conquered by daemons. And humanity, who at this point was barely even sentient, were kept by the daemons as glaives, cattle, and playthings. And remember, at least a millennia of this treatment. And this has had a profound impact on the collective human psyche, where the idea of a human owning another human as property was just seen as like a special kind of evil up there with the R word. Like, these are how demons look in my setting, by the way. Isn't it kind of interesting that only something so monstrous would own another person as property? Take from that what you will. So that's 3 things I didn't take from ancient history for my setting. You know what I mean? It's okay to not have things be a direct one-to-one. I've said this before. It's taking influence, not just copying things whole cloth. So that is basically the gist with this. I'll see you guys later.